Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Here we are. Sam is not feeling up to snuff today, so he's not going to be joining us. And a little bit of sad news. Jennifer Rourke is finding that it's just not working in her schedule to do this regularly, so she's going to take a back seat for a while, maybe drop in as an occasional guest co-host. But we really appreciate the time that she's put in. There is little good news on the horizon. I don't really dare announce it yet. But if it all comes to fruition, it will happen on Tuesday, April 11th. So circle that on your calendar. It's going to be, if it plays out the way I think it's going to be really big. A lot of listeners are going to be very happy with it. But, you know how it is. I've said before certain things were going to happen or had a chance of happening and they didn't happen. So I don't want to announce it until I know for sure, but let's just say it's really, really good news. And I've got a special guest joining me today. His name is David Meine. There it is. And David is, well, let's just say he's all about being healthy in every way possible. And he's going to tell us a lot of cool stuff about exactly how to do that. But before we get to that, David, first of all, thank you for joining me on the program. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
Glad to have you. Where are you connecting from today?
I'm actually in Lehi, Utah.
Utah. Okay. Very good. Now, Lehi, I'm not sure exactly where that is, but how cold is it right now where you are?
So we're, I think, just around 40 degrees.
Oh, that's warmish.
Yeah, we've set records. We set a record this week. We have, up in some of our ski resorts are now over 700 inches of snow so far. Season.
700 inches. Yeah. Yeah, anyone who feels like you've had too much snow, think again.
Yeah. But that's good news because we've been in a drought.
Okay.
Severe drought. And so
I'll take care of that.
And so the lakes that I fish are down dramatically. And so we're hoping this snow, and we've got bad weather all week. So we hope it just keeps coming, even though it's annoying.
Well, once you get the melt going, that should fill up a lot of that water and reservoir and so forth. Yeah. Yep. Of course, that's also when you end up with mud season, but that's a different story entirely. But anyway, so you're all about getting more healthy, and there's a story behind that. Give us a little bit of that story.
Well, in 2015, I got that news that no one wants to hear, and I had bladder cancer.
Oof.
And the very next day after I got diagnosed, that something was wrong in my bladder, I went into surgery and they found 3 good-sized tumors. And so they removed them, sent them off, came back, they were cancer. And so that began a very interesting journey for 2 years. I ended up with cancer diagnosis 2 more times. So I had a total of 21 tumors, 3 surgeries. Ended up with 2 full rounds of chemo, which is unbelievably miserable. And I was able to suffer through and complete the chemo. And then that kind of was a wake-up call to really start this health journey I've been on for the last since about 8 years now.
And share just a few of the insights that you were able to derive from that point on, because obviously when you have an experience like that, you're really motivated. You want to take steps. You want to find something to, first of all, clear your system out where it is right now, and second of all, make sure it doesn't happen again. So we're certain you were motivated, but how did you put that motivation into action?
Well, I have to explain that wasn't all my health issues. So I had got diagnosed in 1999 with severe neuropathy in my feet. Oof. I had kind of peripheral neuropathy where my feet were on fire. I had severe arthritis in my right knee, my left hand, my neck, my spine. I also had severe brain fog. I had been diagnosed in my 20s with colitis, in my 30s with Crohn's disease.
Whoa.
I had on average every year 3 to 4 times of bronchitis, and typically one of those would turn into pneumonia. And so I was very athletic. very active. I thought I ate okay. And I just had this health that, with the cancer, they kept putting me since 1999 on medication after medication. And so by the time I hit 2018, I was on 10 medications. Things like Lyrica, Cymbalta, duloxetine. I just a host of pain medicines. And so I'm on all these medications coming out of cancer. My pain level with everything, even taking the Lyrica, which I was a high dose 3 times a day, I was still at a pain level of 7 to 8 a day, out of a scale of, of 10 being the highest. And a lot of days I was at 10 and I was taking ibuprofen every day, trying to offset. I was on Lortab, Oxycontin. I just was doing, it all. And I just come out of this cancer battle. And so I hit 2018 and I found out that I had a leaky gut. Have you heard of a leaky gut?
I think we've all heard the term. I think some people know what it is, probably more on this podcast, listening to the podcast than perhaps the general audience as a whole globally. But I think there's also room for conversation there because it can mean a lot of things. So when you found out you had leaky gut, what exactly did that mean?
So what's interesting is obviously, if you listen to my health story, I had a lot of inflammation in my body. Mm-hmm. If you have a lot of inflammation in your body, what it does, it overwhelms the immune system. Well, what I found out is I had a leaky gut. I was working with some world famous gut doctors. And what we found out is I had these junctions that were open in my small intestine that were letting food particles, bacteria, and things that are not supposed to get into the bloodstream. And so then the immune system, what it does, it's kind of like the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines kind of analogy. It just goes in and starts attacking these foreign substances that are not supposed to be in the bloodstream. Well, if it's just attacking, then what it does, it overwhelms the immune system, and then the immune system actually starts attacking itself.
Oh boy!
All these issues in the body, and so I had no idea, and so I started learning about leaky gut. I started doing the things that I thought would repair my leaky gut, and then we hit COVID, and so in 2020. As I was starting to heal my leaky gut and I was starting to work with doctors to see, can I get off my medications? Can I get healthier? What can I do? My wife in February decided to go back to school and she became a certified functional nutrition counselor.
Oh.
And I said to her, well, while you're going to school, what do you think about if we write a book about my journey and what we've learned to get my health improved? And so I started writing a book called Unlocking the Leaky Gut Code, which we published. The last version just got put on Amazon in December. And then my wife and I were the narrators and we did it in Audible and it's in Kindle. So you can find it there. And it really goes through this journey that I went through to really begin to realize that at the core of what I was dealing with was this leaky gut that was creating so much inflammation. But then to make matters worse, when I got to another pain doctor in May of 2018, I decided my knee was so bad that I was going to do stem cells in my right knee to see if I could, heal it and the pain. And when he did my intake, he read that I was taking anywhere from 800 to 2,400 milligrams of ibuprofen a day. And he stopped right there and he said, David, if you want to proceed getting the stem cell therapy, one of the things you're going to have to do for 30 days, the next 30 days, you can't take any NSAIDs. And I said, well, what are NSAIDs? He said, they're non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, which, I was taking Advil, and there's, of course, Aleve and ibuprofen and all these different. I took one of my prescriptions was naproxen, and he just said, you have to stop all that. And I said, how would I survive? I'm at a 7, 8 to a 10 in pain every day. and you want me to, get that crutch gone. And he says, I'm sorry if you want to do this. And so, I went home and thought about it. It was the end of April 30th, in fact. And then made the decision that I would go a month. Well, then to come find out, I had to stop NSAIDs for 5 months.
Oh,
and so
boy.
Yeah. So there's more to the story, but anyway, I stopped taking the NSAIDs, and some amazing things happened as I went down the road.
And there are certainly known side effects to NSAIDs and ibuprofen and all those related medications. I'm kind of surprised you didn't say that you were being affected by those, because they can be pretty severe.
Well, they all were. And the thing that I learned in July of 2018 was that those drugs destroy the lining in the small intestine.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And that's what opens up those junctions for certain individuals. And that allows the things that aren't supposed to be going into your bloodstream in.
So that was really a causal factor behind the leaky gut, which was poisoning your system, which was causing your body to go to war with itself.
Exactly. And so thanks to that first doctor in May, I started getting off the NSAIDs, and then I met another doctor in July that's a world famous expert on leaky gut. And then in the fall, I met another doctor, started working with another doctor on leaky gut. And it's been a really interesting journey. But let me give you a little piece of good news in all of this.
Good. We need some. Yeah, let's hear it.
So with all the work I started doing in 2018, I remember there's 2 events. On October 18th, 2018, when I started, I did no NSAIDs. I was really miserable the first 4 months. I got to October, and I remember that day as clear as day, because my pain level dropped from an 8 to 10 every day down to a 4.
Wow.
And it was because of the things I was doing. Well, more importantly, it's the things I stopped eating and took out of my diet, and then things I put into my diet. And then the second amazing event in October of 2020, working with doctors, I would never, ever suggest anyone try to get off any serious medication without working with a doctor, because there could be, you got to kind of wean yourself off. But I worked with the doctors. And Walt, here's the amazing thing. In October of 2020, I took my last pill. I had been weaning off all 10 medications, took my last pill, and I got off of all medications as of October 2020. And I take no medications even today. I never take NSAID. I take no drugs. And, that's kind of how we came up with this company, More Than Healthy, that my wife and I do together, was just all the things that we've learned that have given me this incredible life and lifestyle.
I said at the top of the podcast that you want everybody to be more healthy, but I kind of was messing around with the name of your company, More Than Healthy. What's more than healthy? I mean, healthy seems like that's like the top of the scale, but what's more than healthy?
Well, here's the thing. I'm 66 years old, and I just got done doing a whole bunch of full body CT scans, MRIs, stool samples to see what's going on in my whole digestive system. And I did all this work. And the thing is, this is what I think More Than Healthy is. Have you heard of epigenetics?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So my age, biological age, is 66. My epigenetic age, from everything that I did in January, my epigenetic report came back, and I am 43 years old epigenetically.
Which is fantastic. Let's define a little more carefully what that means when we say that your epigenetic age is 43. What does that mean exactly?
So it's looking at all of these factors, right? And how your cells are looking, your telomeres, all these different things about your cells and everything about your body. And it takes all that, and it's using AI technology and the computer systems that's looking at everything. And then based on all this input, it comes back and says, 66 comes down, your epigenetic age is 43. And I'm not an expert. I can't go into all the details and explain it, for you. All I know is that my wife was shocked. She's 64 and her epigenetic age came back at 52. So it kind of gave me something to go, hey, there was other things that, she's better in all the, the different reports. But more than healthy is simply this. We don't want to grow old and accept all the things that come with old age, like decreased memory, the poor health, sitting on the couch, not being able to really do anything, not interact with our grandkids. More than healthy is really about living longer with optimized health and immunity, right? So like today, I did a little lifestyle video for our social media, and I had a granddaughter come over. She's 6 years old. We went downstairs and we have these, built those big Lego blocks.
Oh yeah.
So they have the half size is about this big and then the big one is about this big. And so her name's Aurora. And I said, hey, Aurora, all the blocks were all tore down. And I said, let's go in and let's build an Aurora castle. And so we went and built that. And so we had an awesome half hour building this castle with doors, windows, parapets. And it was built around a bunk bed. And I went and got a lantern so she could hang it up so she could have a little light inside it. But, the thing is, 8 years ago, I was so sick, so miserable. I probably wouldn't have done that, had that experience with a grandchild.
Yeah. That's a big shift. That's what we're really talking about here when you say that your epigenetic age changed that much. I mean, for the first time, in your adult life, you were actually ahead of the game?
Yeah, because it would have been interesting to do this epigenetics 8 years ago and see what my age would have been. There's lots of different things that show my age. It's, 58, 62, but just about every single thing that we look at, I'm younger, than what my biological age is. And that's really at the end of the day. And there's been a game changer this last year with my wife doing this, functional nutrition. So she's the go-between the client and the doctor. Doctors are amazing, but they just don't have the time to see what the underlying cause of a health issue is.
Sure.
They come in, you go to them, here's my symptoms, and they say, okay, based on your symptoms, here's some possibilities, and more than likely, you'll get a prescription. And so you take the prescription, and then you see, does that make you better? Does it not make you better? But there's not the underlying thing, right? No one ever with my colitis, Crohn's disease in my colon, my bad gas, my bloating, there'd be days that I would be curled up in the back of the car as a teenager when I'm 18, 19 years old, and I'm just curled up in the car and I'm in so much pain and I'm so miserable. No one ever has ever looked at what could be causing that. And all they did is said, here, take this and, take this antacid, take this Tums, take this Pepto-Bismol. And so all I've ever done, Prilosec, everything I've ever done is always just kind of covered and helped me do that. But a year ago, my wife found something that's just a game changer for us in helping people. She found a tool called a hair analysis. Now you've got to understand, since 2015, I have done so much blood work. I've done all these tests, everything, trying to figure out what's going on, what's causing these issues. And I didn't even share with you that I've had 3 major back surgeries starting in 2015. Okay. So.
Whoa, you've been through the wars.
I've been through a lot, and I'm fused from S1 to L3 now. But the good news is, with this hair analysis that we found and that we help our clients with, is it's always been guesswork. The guesswork is, okay, we knew for sure with all the doctors we worked with that one of the things that's so critical in the American diet that's missing is vitamin D. Right. And then we have followed all these amazing doctors that have really researched COVID, really have done the work on, what are things that we can do to build our immune systems and be able to endure what we did, with COVID. And so I've looked at some amazing studies that showed that out of a group of people, over 700,000 people that were under 20 NGLs of vitamin D, it's 25 and under, and the NGLs 100% died from COVID. Mm-hmm. People that were 25 to 30 NGLs, they had a higher survival rate. And then if you were anything above 30, and where you're supposed to be with vitamin D, NGLs is right around that 70 to 80. And I said 100 because of the doctors I've worked with and the vitamin D supplementation they asked me to do. What's amazing is 100% survival rate. So we know vitamin D, but there's so many things we don't know. All these minerals and vitamins that we're not getting in our diets anymore, just because our soil's depleted for the farmers, and there's just all these things that are going on that it's really hard to get what we need in our diets. And so my wife tries to do it through, food, mm-hmm. right? That's how you try to get whatever. And so the thing that was tough for her was, okay, what minerals, what vitamins are you deficient on? Are there environmental factors, mm-hmm. right? And so here's the amazing thing. All these doctors, all this blood work I did my first hair analysis. My blood work's never shown what came up in my hair analysis. Now, a hair analysis is essentially you take 4 strands of hair from the back of the skull. In my case, since I'm bald, you pull it from your eyebrow.
Yep.
You put it on a scanner, goes through the computer, goes to Hamburg, Germany. The computer systems look at 800 indicators. It sends back a report that's 36 pages. In my 36-page report, for the first time, we found that I had a parasite.
Oh.
I also had a virus. I also had a long-term virus. I also had severe EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. And so for the first time, we had a report that showed minerals and vitamins that I was deficient in. Those are two of the indicator areas.
Sure.
Well, what's interesting in this score, if you're in high maintenance, means that you really got a lot of work to do. It's at a 35. I came in at a 93.
Woo.
And here's all the healthy things I've done all this time, right? And so what's interesting with the parasite, 2 things can happen with the parasite. It uses the mineral and vitamin resources or ends up blocking those. So the things that my wife has learned and the doctor group that we're under with this hair analysis said, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get rid of that parasite. So we found there's a really good product we use. We give to our clients. So I did a 10-day cleanse. It was really simple. You just take 2 capsules in the morning with breakfast, 2 capsules in the evening with a dinner, do it for 10 days. And then what it does is all these ingredients take and will help kill and then get that parasite out. And then 30 days later, you do a cleanse again because of the sloughing and all the things, get all that stuff out. And so it just takes and binds everything, stomach, large intestine, small intestine, colon, gets it out. And then what's interesting, when I did my next 90 days, then the parasite was gone. And then there's some other factors that come up. I had taken care of the EMFs because I used a supplement called spirulina that's really good for electromagnetic frequencies. We did things in our home to mitigate. We had a router in our bedroom, so we took the router out. But anyway, what's exciting for my wife and I is now we have real science, real testing that can give us exactly what people are dealing with. And then what we do every 90 days is we just say, hey, you just work on a couple of things. And so I dropped, my first 90 days, I dropped from a 93, which is a really bad score. I dropped down to a 54. Now I'm still above the 35, mm-hmm. but look how much improvement I was able to make in 90 days. Now the next 90 days, I worked on some other very specific things that come up in the report. And the bad news is, after all the work I've done for 8 years, I still have a leaky gut.
Wow.
But good news is, in January, we found out I am actually missing an ingredient in my small intestine. And that ingredient we've introduced 3 weeks ago. And what it does is this ingredient actually builds the mucus barrier that's supposed to be on the inside of your small intestine. And for some reason, whatever from youth or the fact that I wasn't nursed, my mom didn't nurse me. I was bottle fed. Who knows of all the things, and then all of the antibiotics I've taken and everything that's happened that's destroyed my gut. This one ingredient, Akkermansia, has now been introduced, and we're now trying to build that mucus layer. And then, of course, down the road here, we'll get a test again and see if that is being built. But it was weird on my hair analysis. It was showing that I still had the potential of a leaky gut. Interesting, huh?
Very interesting, yeah.
And that's what got us motivated to go do a little more testing to see if there was something missing inside my intestinal lining.
This hair analysis also sounds fascinating. I have not heard of it before, but I'm really I'm so curious about it. I want to follow up on it for myself. But more than that, I'm also curious to know more about the EMF part, because let's be honest, I've heard lots of reports from people. Oh, EMFs are so dangerous, 5G, blah, 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 blah. And there are many industry experts. We won't even go into the politics of it, but there are industry experts who say, oh no, that's a bunch of rubbish. It's a bunch of nonsense. So the question I have for you is, how did you know that EMFs were adversely affecting you? Because to me, that's been one of the big pieces missing from the conversation.
So one of the things that happened is when we did the hair analysis, my wife was the first one to do it, and it showed EMFs on hers. And then we contacted the company. We asked if there's 42 countries that now have this hair analysis testing. And so we contacted who had the licensing for the U.S. And then because my wife, you have to be a practitioner to get approved to be able to do hair analysis. And so she did it. And so she actually went out and spent hundreds of dollars on meters. So there are meters that you can buy, these probes and meters that you can walk around your home, plug into your electrical. You can walk around your home and the walls and everything. And so when we got to our master bedroom, we were shocked how strong the signals were in our bedroom with meters. And then we had 6-7 years ago when we moved in this home, my wife, unbeknownst to me, 6 years ago, thought she was going to be a widow. I mean, and you can kind of see her thinking.
Yeah, sure. I mean, considering everything.
That, the cancer's back and whatever. Yeah. So she inspired me, motivated me, asked if I would sell our company. We had a very large company. It was a health, if you can believe it, was a health and wellness company. So we sold that. We downsized, moved into this home. And when we moved in the home, we wanted, the router. And so we got Comcast and got the big white, Wi-Fi box and put it in our bedroom, thinking that was a smart thing to do. Well, you can imagine the kind of signals that were coming off of that. So we got that moved.
Okay, but wait. I'm still not getting the answer that I'm looking for. I get it. EMFs can be detected. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
All right.
The question is, how do you know that EMFs are adversely affecting you? What's the evidence of it?
It's just the science. Right.
That's the thing. The science is in dispute. So that's why I want to know what the evidence is.
But leaky gut's in dispute.
Well,
Alzheimer's can be cured. In dispute. Everything's in dispute.
I'm just trying to zero in on what is claimed to be the scientific evidence that says EMFs actually have certain negative causes, because I haven't seen that yet.
All I can do is we look at the science, we look at the studies that are out there, and some people agree, a lot of people don't agree. All I can tell you is that we started mitigating the EMFs. EMFs affect your sleep. EMFs affects your nervous system. Okay. There are studies and science that shows that. We did a blog post on it. We have a video blog post. We talk about EMFs. We have all the research, all the links on our website, More Than Healthy. And then what we did is we got the blue light out of our thing. At night before we go to bed, we make sure we turn off these overhead lights, right? We took our phones, we turned off our phones and put them in mode, put them in our closet. And then we mitigated the EMFs that were coming off the electrical in our room. So there's levels, right? There's these different levels of EMFs. All I know is that my sleep's improved. My nervous system has improved. There's things that have improved once we started mitigating the EMFs and we started taking spirulina, which is a supplement for EMFs. And all I can tell you is I'm doing way better.
Which I'm very glad to hear.
I'm one case study, right? I'm just one. But the doctors we work under, scientists we work under, they all believe it.
See, here's the thing that I think about. I'm a strong believer in the placebo effect and the nocebo effect, both. The placebo effect being that, if you believe that you're going to get better, you're going to get better. The nocebo effect being the diametric opposite. If you believe you're going to get worse, you're going to get worse.
Okay.
And that's something I can believe in because there is, the scientific industry goes out of its way to screen this stuff out because they're absolutely convinced it's ruining all their results. So I know it exists. I know that they're absolutely out there. That placebo really does happen, that nocebo really does happen. So when I hear about something like EMFs, I say to myself, I'm not trying to say that it's a bad idea to eliminate EMFs. Because clearly people are getting results. The question in my mind is, are they getting the results because of the placebo effect? Which is great if that's happening. I'm totally in favor of that. Or are they actually making ground because there's another thing going on, which is what double-blind placebo-controlled studies are all about, trying to find out what that other thing is really doing. That's the part I'm curious about.
I think you make a great point too, because when I look at optimizing my health and my immunity, right, it's multiple factors. Just finished a fantastic book called The End of Alzheimer's. Do you know Dr. Dale Bredesen?
I do not.
Okay, so he wrote this book, The End of Alzheimer's, and to date, there is no monotherapy that is working to cure Alzheimer's. Is that something you know anything about, or have you heard anything about this?
I've had guests talk about the idea that Alzheimer's there's a proposal that it should be renamed as diabetes type 3, and that it's related to some of the things that are associated with diabetes, and a few other factoids have been thrown in, but I can't say I know a ton about Alzheimer's.
So the thing that's interesting is Dr. Bredesen has done this amazing work for 30 years. He's a neurologist, been in neuroscience. And one of the things, if you heard me, one of my things is that I didn't share, but I did share brain fog, but I didn't share with you 7 years ago that my kids thought I had dementia, or the beginning of dementia.
Yeah.
Right. And it's part of the cancer. It's part of everything. Why my wife wanted to sell the company, downsize. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to go through all that stuff if I died. Right.
Yeah.
And have to get rid of it. So I'm very interested with nutrition and everything I'm studying, EMFs, the whole thing of how can so I had a severe cognitive decline, going on 8 years ago. If my wife was here with us, she would tell you that my cognitive skills have gone way back up. She would even tell you I probably have a better memory than her. What I like about the end of Alzheimer's with Dr. Bredesen, what's interesting is he says Alzheimer's is like a roof that's got 36 holes in it. They've been able to isolate 36 things that cause Alzheimer's, or a different term of cognitive decline. Mm-hmm. Right? The pharmaceutical industry, what they do is they always try to solve it with some type of medication, right?
Right, exactly.
Protocol. And that's what I call monotherapy. Dr. Bredesen, what he does is he says that is like patching one hole, right? There's this plaque that goes on in the brain. There's this thing that goes on in the brain. They're trying to figure out how to reverse it.
Right.
There's all these things that are causes. And so what's interesting that a doctor whose experience is his would never, ever have said that nutrition really affects cognitive abilities. Mm-hmm. You just kind of said that with some of your guests, and other people have said, well, let's just term it a diabetes issues, right? If you've got diabetes, it's going to affect the brain. It's going to affect whatever. So let's, rename it. But there are so many things. And that's kind of what's been going on with my health. I've been plugging holes in my health with my mineral deficiencies, these environmental factors, leaky gut,
Mm-hmm.
gluten intolerance. There's foods I shouldn't eat. This hair analysis shows all this stuff. And what's interesting is you plug each one of these holes, which EMFs
Mm-hmm.
are one of them, whether it's placebo or whatever it is. All I know is that my overall score is continuing to improve, and my well-being, my health. I'm a competitive cyclist. I race on a road bike. I'm a competitive pickleball player. My wife and I play all over, play in tournaments. We just did a fun thing. You'll like this, Walt. So we have a large family. We blended 7 kids 21 years ago when we got married. I had 4. My wife had 3. We now have 18 grandkids. So 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, we rented an indoor pickleball facility. It has 13 pickleball courts indoors, professional in Salt Lake City. And we rented the whole thing for ourselves. And, we've got kids that are 43 down to 32. And then we've got grandkids as old as 20. The oldest is 26, 43. Yeah. And so 44. And so we get the whole group together. We told everybody you can bring a friend and play with that friend. And you can play grandma and grandpa or mom and dad. And if you can beat us, we'll pay you $25 each because we played doubles, right?
Oh,
so
I see.
We played together. They played as doubles and we played them. And when we got done after 3 hours and everybody got lessons, we brought in people to teach lessons. We did a tournament, did whatever. But while this is all going on, people could come play us. And they could play us multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
No one beat us.
Wow.
And now everybody's inspired to go, okay, next year, because we're going to do it again. Next year, we're going to figure out how to beat Grandma. The thing is that's funny is that we played not to lose.
Mm.
They don't know we played not to lose. They didn't know we didn't play to win.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody really brings it on next year, we can turn it on. But my point is, because of all we've learned and the things that we've done one step at a time with our health, look at the things I do. I ski every week. I'm an avid snow skier.
Mm.
And the thing is I get to have this amazing life instead of accepting cancer, accepting neuropathy, accepting the arthritis, accepting the brain fog. I'm like, is there things I can do? And look at the life I have today.
Which is fabulous. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's absolutely terrific. I want to carry on just one degree further with the line I was following before, because one of the main reasons I was following that line wasn't so much to come down on EMFs. It was to come up on placebo, to come up on the power of the human mind. It's something that I wish both the mainstream medical community and even the alternative medical community would pay more attention to. The alternative medical community does pay a significant amount of attention to it. But honestly, I don't think anybody's giving it enough attention. I've even had a guest on the show who is a placebo researcher, mainstream placebo researcher. And I got her to admit that the only placebo research that she does is pain relief. Nothing about actually resolving disease conditions, just pain relief. And I'm like beside myself with, we have this amazing human power, the human mind. And it's like the medical professionals on both the mainstream and the alternative side are saying, yeah, okay, well, that sounds pretty cool. So here's some other ideas for you. And like, what? Wait, stop.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Every week we started, we just published our 64th weekly tip. So we have a YouTube channel, More Than Healthy Living, and we're just relaunched our YouTube channel. As I was telling you, we've been using StreamYard to do all those videos, and now we're moving them to YouTube. And every week we pick a subject, whether it's water or it's sleeping or it's glutamine, or we did the omega 6s and 3s coming out this next Monday. And what's interesting is placebo. I like where you're going with placebo, but if something's going wrong in the body, for example, the American diet, if you look at the one that's coming up, we're releasing on Monday, What's so fascinating is the American diet has us at 18-1. So 18 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. And what you're supposed to be 2-1 or 1-1. Mm-hmm. Now, we're getting a lot of bad omega-6s from French fries, right? Hydrogenated oils and canola oils and these really bad oils, right? If you're using, avocado oil or MCT oil or whatever. And so what's interesting is if I did a test and I said, okay, I'm going to give you this placebo and this other group, I give you the right oils and I'm upping your omega-3s and I'm trying to get you to a 2-1, 3-1. That scientifically you can't do. I mean, you prove, and we have all the research links. We have everything on our blog post. So we have the video and the blog post. What's interesting about that is I can't sit and go, okay, power my brain, change what's happening with what I'm consuming, what I'm putting in my body, take that bad oils, the too much omega-6s that I'm getting, and get me to a 2-1 or a 1-1 ratio.
I hear you. Now, here's a question for you, though.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take the same idea and I'm going to flip it around.
Okay.
Because I think you're absolutely right. I think it's very important to tie in the medical research on the non-placebo factors that are involved.
Okay.
The question that I have is, why is it necessary to say that when we achieve a result where I believe the two are working together, because I think that's really the key factor here. I don't care what the research is. I don't care what the scientific result is. I don't care what the treatment is. In every single case, I believe that what we're calling a placebo, I'm going to call it the mental factor or the belief factor or something along that line. The mental belief factor works off of the treatment, works off of the science, works off of it, because when we hear the science, we believe more easily. We're more confident. And so the so-called placebo effect kicks into a higher gear because we've just kind of eliminated all this resistance about this particular thing that we thought before we couldn't resolve. Now we think we can resolve it because we got this medical science. So now all of a sudden the placebo effect becomes powerful because it just upped the belief factor. So I'm not saying separate them, just do one or the other. I'm saying let's celebrate and really point to the power of the belief factor when working with one of the technologies.
Thank you so much for redefining that, because you are absolutely 100% correct. If I didn't have the motivation and belief to get on this path and change my health, it wouldn't have happened, Walt.
That's right.
Let me tell you just a quick little funny story. I have a guy that has the same back issues as me. I took him fishing. I have a boat I keep on a lake in Utah. And so I take people and I love to just kind of guide and help them catch fish. And I'm with them. I'm telling them about my book and that, I was an Amazon bestseller, the first version that came out, and was talking about the book, and I was talking about leaky gut, and I was talking about what gluten and wheat and how it's genetically modified. I'm going down this path trying to help him and convince him. And he looks at me and he goes, David, I would rather die than give up gluten. Mm-hmm. And at that point, there's not another word I could say, because he didn't believe, like your placebo effect. He was not buying it because he wasn't going to give up gluten. Right. And this guy is so full of inflammation. He is in so much pain. He's like I was 8 years ago, and he's not open-minded. So I kind of think what you're talking about is you've got to be open-minded to the science to get the belief, right? So you get that placebo effect going, that mental going, okay, I'm going to take the science, I'm going to take whatever, put those together, and I'm going to be able to make a difference in my health.
Well, I think I would modify it just slightly. What I would say is, and I think it applies to him, I think he's a great example. In his particular case, he's not willing to consider the idea that gluten is driving his situation. Okay?
Correct.
He's still experiencing severe symptomology.
Yes.
So the question in my mind doesn't become, how can I convince him to start paying attention to the science? The question in my mind becomes, what can I tap into science-wise that helps him build his belief?
Correct.
If it's not gluten, then maybe something else.
Right.
Something that helps him to, because I firmly believe that the mind is where all dis-ease starts. It starts from our belief patterns. It starts from our thought patterns.
I agree.
And as long as that's going to be the case, then any solution that we pursue that can potentially lead us to personal blocks, personal resistance points that are actually in the way, that are keeping us from turning that belief into a reality. Anything that we can do to get past those resistance points is what we really need to do. So it isn't so much trying to convince that guy that, well, gluten is his problem. He's got to do something about that. And if he's not willing to consider that, there's nothing to be done. It's more about what can he believe in? What can he believe that can actually make a difference for him? Because if we can find that, it almost doesn't even matter what the medical science is. As long as we can find some medical science that he'll buy into and believe in it, he will achieve progress.
And you're absolutely right. You know what's interesting, Walt? We really wanted to go after we wanted our demographics to be from 40 years old to 80 years old and older. And what we have found working with 70 and above, and now this isn't everybody.
Sure.
But in general, we get told over and over, I don't want to know what's wrong and I'm not willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we focus on 56-year-olds because they're just starting to have their first health crises,
mm-hmm.
right? Because, your digestion system gets weaker and weaker as we age, it can. But at the end of the day, they're way more open-minded to look at the science and
mm-hmm.
believe that there's things they can do that are alternative to maybe what they're experiencing. Now,
right.
I want to really point out on this show, my wife and I are not doctors.
Yes, we should. Right. We forgot the disclaimer. No medical advice is being given out here, folks.
All I can say is I am an amazing case study. When you read my book, Unlocking the Leaky Gut Code, and you go to our website, morethanhealthy.com, and you look at the things that we have on there and the research and the blogs. I mean, we really are researching and studying and trying to provide information to what you're saying, Walt, is that might open their mind to look at science that might say, I wonder if that might be my problem, and then be able to go look at it more and come to us for information, or go to the internet for information, or go to their doctor, or go find a functional nutrition doctor and see if whatever that health condition that they're really struggling and miserable with, that it can be fixed.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID a couple times, and I think that's kind of what was going on in the back of my mind as I was hearing your really very inspiring story. It's kind of calmed down over the last 9 months or so, but throughout most of the pandemic, there was this big fight, usually a politically oriented fight. On the one hand, you had the people who were saying mask, social distance, stay in quarantine, get the vaccine, all that kind of stuff. And then you got this other side that's basically saying nonsense, scam, blah, 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 all this other stuff, vitamin D, and I don't remember all the different stuff. I mean, they're all pushing their own thing and saying how bad the other side is.
Right.
How crazy the other side is for pursuing their particular way of doing things. They don't have the science behind it. They don't have all that stuff is going on. And I kept thinking to myself, what happens if we shift that entire pattern and say those who really strongly believe in what the mainstream medical science is saying, follow that path with a message that says when you follow this path, you will get better. You will be less likely to get sick. You will feel good. You will stay healthy. And then do the same thing with the people on the other side saying the more you follow this path, you're going to get better. What happens to the overall population? Because what we've been experiencing has been the diametric opposite of that. We have been experiencing both sides saying, no, you keep going that way, you're going to be in harm. No, you keep going that way, you're going to be in harm.
Yep.
And the messaging has been coming from the medical authorities as well as from population and media sources. So it's been like this barrage of information saying bad, 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 bad. And then I say to myself, well, is it any wonder we've had such a horrible set of statistics coming out of the pandemic?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful that through the pandemic, my wife and I were working so hard to build our immune systems. And so, here we are. You and I are both on the other side of this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also talked about all the different things that have come out of the pandemic. There were actually a lot of positives. There have been very strong positives that come out of it, but there's still that great big piece, and it affects a lot of people today. There are people today who are, I think you could even say, traumatized on both sides of the fence.
Yes.
Traumatized by what's been happening there, and probably not going to be leaving that trauma anytime soon. And that very likely means there's going to be more and more adverse consequences coming out of that. I won't even say what those adverse consequences are, because I don't want to be helping to predict any of it. But you know,
and I think that's what our focus is, Walt, is what can we do to become more than healthy, right?
Yeah.
And if you just take one bad thing out of your life that's affecting you in a negative way that you believe, take it out, and it can help improve. And you do another thing, and you do another thing. And that's why I love hair analysis, is because now people can look at it and go, okay, here's all these opportunities I have to optimize my health.
Yeah. Because I mean, we humans, we look at evidence that comes out like that and we buy into it. We say, well, yeah, okay, I can see how that could be playing a role. That could be playing a role. Yep. To me, that's just like this massive opportunity to believe. Just because we're getting this report that goes into great detail about all these things going on, and like, oh wow, if I do this, I could get that result. If I do this, I can get. I mean, how much more positive can you get?
Well, can I use what you've been teaching me today?
Absolutely.
And what's funny is I'm a brain trainer. I'm a certified life coach, I've done CDs and training on brain training. I follow and study neuroscience, neuroplasticity, all these different things. And I know without a doubt how powerful the brain is. And I loved how you worded that today. So I'm going to watch I'm going to replay this when you get it all posted. And I want to really get the essence of how you were thinking and talking about it. And you've really inspired me. I want to share a little funny story a couple days ago.
Okay.
I was at church. So I'm walking up to church, and this guy sees me, I'm friends with, and he goes, how you doing, David? And I said, God, I'm doing so great. My health has improved dramatically. I'm just so happy where I'm at and how I've been able to optimize my health, because we've had conversations. He's read my book. He looks me in the eye and says, you know that typically really healthy people just drop dead.
I love it.
And he just walked by me, and he was dead serious. And I was like, okay. I didn't even, isn't that funny? And I was like, oh, great, thanks. There's the power of the mind, right? If I had no matter what I do, I'm going to die, I would die, right? Mm-hmm. If I believe I can do whatever I can to extend my life. And all I really care about, one of the foundation of our health journey, the first foundation is find a why. Number 2 is sleep. And then we have these pillars. Mm. My thing I just want to share with you my why of how come I've worked so hard to improve my health.
Sure. Yeah.
At 95 years old, I want to celebrate my 50th wedding anniversary with my wife. We just finished 21 years. And I want to be lucid. And I want to be we love to dance, and I want to get on the dance floor, and I want to have a great time. I want to know who she is. And
I love it.
Have this great thing. That's my motivation. That's my long-term goal of why I'm doing everything I can to have that special event in my life at 95.
I got to ask you, because I'm a social dancer. Are there particular dance styles that you dance, or you just do freestyle, or what kind of dance do you do?
My wife and I went and we learned how to do ballroom dancing. We've learned, the tango, all these different things. And so we just love to dance, the 4th step. And so when we get out on the floor and dance, we just start flowing, and people just stand back, watch us and go, wow.
Yeah.
And because my wife loves music. She loves to dance, and we just make a great team.
It's an amazing feeling too. I'm kind of doing a little side commercial here for dance. Anyone who's ever considered trying social dancing, ballroom dancing, anything along that line, do it. It is amazing. It is an amazing, amazing experience.
Well, and it really gets those endorphins in your brain going.
It does. Yeah.
And you get the movement and the exercise, and you get that connection with the person that you're with. In my case, my wife, and, whoever, and when you finish that evening of dancing, you're so much closer together in so many ways.
Absolutely true. 100%. Totally agree. I got to tell you, Dave, this is one of the best shows that I've had lately. I have a lot of great shows. I mean, but this is your Daily Dose of Happy, and it's a Daily Dose of Happy every single day. It's wonderful. It feels great. I have great guests, great co-hosts. It's wonderful. This is one of the best ones I've had in a while. Two things we got to find out from you before we part company today.
Okay.
First and foremost, how do you get that hair analysis?
So just go to morethanhealthy.com.
All right.
You have two things you can do when you get there. You can schedule a free consultation. Typically they're with me, or someone else. Or you can go to hair analysis, find the tab, click down in it. It'll explain more about the hair analysis, and you can just order it through there. But, a lot of people would like to just learn more. And so what we do is I do this consultation. We get their email, and then we created an ebook. So people can get the ebook and read the ebook and really understand what it is that they're getting involved with, and they can learn. And so, there's just a lot of great resources on morethanhealthy.com.
All right. So we'll make sure that we include a link to morethanhealthy.com. And you also had a published book. What was the name of that one again?
It's called Unlocking the Leaky Gut Code.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a roadmap to reclaiming your health.
Okay. I presume that's available everywhere.
It's on Amazon, so you can get it in paperback on Amazon, or like I said earlier, my wife and I were the narrators, and so you can get it on Audible.
At the Audible, okay.
And you can get it on Kindle.
Okay, very good. So all the Amazon products then.
Yeah.
So that's fabulous too. And then if somebody wants to just reach out to you to talk to you more, how do they reach you?
So they can just email me at david@morethanhealthy.com.
Very simple. I love that. Really, really good. Something that I want to tell you that I make it a point to tell all of my guests, because it's kind of it never really was an actual policy, but it kind of developed one over time just by the kinds of people who come onto the show. But the policy, the inadvertent policy, is that people who come onto the show are givers. They're here to just give information and to share experiences and to share joy and all that kind of stuff. They give and give and give and give. And that's wonderful, except that I don't think givers really get the recognition for what they do, because very often you're giving information out to people you'll never meet, you'll never see, you'll never hear from again. You're helping them in ways that you'll never know about. And that's true for all givers. Well, I think we need to be recognized for that. So on behalf of all the people that you've never met, that you've never seen, that you never will meet, you never will see, who you've been helping and who you will continue to help, thank you for what you've been doing, for the information you've been sharing, and thank you for the work that you will be doing in the future.
Wow, thank you. That's amazing.
And you see what I mean? I mean, that's something that really needs to be recognized.
Yeah, I mean, you flabbergasted me, and I appreciate that. And also, didn't you tell me that you started this in 2012?
Yeah, 10 plus years ago.
That is incredible. My wife and I every week do these videos. We're at 65, plus we do 2 coaching nights a month, live coaching, and we have those videos, and it's a lot of work, to do it, script it, get it ready, film it, edit it, and so I have a little inkling of what you've been doing for over 10 plus years, and you're doing a great thing. And just the fact that you invited me to be on your show, thank you. Because we really are trying to help people have amazing lives.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. And thank you, David Meine, for just sharing all this stuff with us, sharing all this great information. I am definitely going to be checking into that hair analysis personally. So any listeners who are wondering whether I'm really buying into this, that's your clue. I'm actually going to follow through on this one. So thank you guys very much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody. Try again.